Today I am trying out Fiasp. I've wanted to try Fiasp for so long. Got a sample for my endo and it is now FDA approved to use in a Omnipod, so I'm excited. It has a faster onset than Humalog or Novolog, which is typically what I've used for most of my life, so it kind of eliminates the need for a pre-bolus. So I'm really excited about this. I hope that it works well for me. I know there's so many mixed reviews. Sometimes it can lose its efficacy of like working faster. Sometimes it can kind of like clog in the cannula. So I don't want that to happen. So definitely I've heard some mixed reviews when I posted about this on my Instagram, but I'm going to take you guys through my first few days of using it and let you know what I think. So many beeps at once. Just got my new shipment or pickup of Omnipods as well. So 3 months worth of pods in here, which I love. It just feels so good to not have to worry about that basically until 2024, which is coming up very fast. I'm so excited for this. All right. So my endo did say that although the onset time is faster for Fiasp, the duration is the same. So I'm not gonna have to make any changes on my pump. It's just going to start to work faster than when I used the Novolog or Humalog or whatever I was on. I've been on both so many times, I don't even remember what I use anymore. So the pump is priming, and while that's doing that, so my endo also gave me a Lyumjev sample to try. So this is a similar function as the Fiasp. It's gonna work a little bit faster, but it's a different additive to the insulin, which can cause burning, like a little bit of like irritation at the site. So that's why some people don't like Lyumjev, but I don't think it has the issues of like the crystallization of the cannula like Fiasp has. So she just told me to try them both and see which one I like better. So I'm gonna use pretty much this whole bottle, I think, first, and then go and try the Lyumjev, as long as like this works well, to see which one I like better. All right, so this is ready for us. Oh. Count the clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, that one went on 5. All right. We're officially using Fiasp. Yeah! 10 days into Fiasp, so I'm on about my 4th pod, and I have a lot of thoughts. But before I get into them, obvious context that this is my experience. You might experience something different, or you might be experiencing something different. That doesn't mean you're wrong. We all have different experiences with different diabetes things, so obviously take this with a grain of salt, but I'm going to share my story and how it's worked for the past 10 days. Which brings me to another thing just to note, is that I've only been on this for 10 days. So my experience in 1 year, if I do continue to use it, might be different than what I had in these first 10 days. So I just like to say that because obviously our opinion of things can change over time. And yeah, so let's get into it. Starting with the good. So I definitely noticed that there was a faster onset time. I know not everyone experiences that. Some people say that there's actually no difference for them. I did notice a difference, but it wasn't in every single meal. It was like in most situations. So there was definitely some times where my blood sugar still had its normal kind of rise that it would have had with Novolog or Humalog, but then there were some situations as well where I definitely noticed that faster onset time. One of those examples, we had these delicious gluten-free donuts. We did them in the air fryer. These were amazing. Side note, tangent, you need to try these donuts if you are gluten-free, or even if you're not. My husband loved them too, and he's not gluten-free. Anyways, I gave a bolus. I didn't even do a pre-bolus, and this was my blood sugar. It like literally just went up, barely touched 150, and then came right back down. So I had a lot of examples like that where I didn't have to do a pre-bolus where I normally would have needed to, and I had a result like this. Secondly, the biggest place that I noticed this onset time was after my runs. So I go into the science behind why this happens in another video, but essentially after I run, I do have a rise in my blood sugar typically. So I like to give myself a bolus about 10 minutes before I finish my run. Like usually when I'm entering that last mile, I'll just go into my controller and do a little bit of a bolus. But with Fiasp, I could wait till the end of my run, do the bolus, and I still wouldn't get, you know, as dramatic of a spike. So that was really cool and kind of just took off some of the pressure of having to do that during a run typically. So again, just a small thing, but it did make life feel a little bit easier. Now, I didn't have perfect blood sugars on Fiasp. It's definitely not something that's going to, like, you know, solve every single issue. That I had missed carb counts and things like that. But I did notice that when I was giving the right insulin amount, that onset time was able to bring me back into range or at my target wherever I wanted to be. Definitely a little bit faster than Novolog or Humalog. Now for the not so good. I will say, like, I noticed that it worked faster, but it wasn't so fast that it totally changed everything. Like, it wasn't the speed to which I would say that it completely changed my life. I wouldn't be that worried if my insurance didn't cover it. I don't think I would really care. I'd be like, okay, fine, I'll just go back to Humalog or Novolog. So while it did work faster, I think some of the reviews that I heard from people were like, it's amazing, I loved it so much. And while I liked it and I noticed the improvement, it wasn't as big of a game changer as I think maybe I anticipated it to be. So I will say that, like, it doesn't change everything. It's not this like amazing solution. I felt like I should have been a lot more impressed. I had to really look for those situations where I noticed that it did well, like that donut situation. Otherwise, it was like, just like, I had to think about it a little bit less in advance than I normally would. Secondly, and again, I've only been on this for 10 days, so I don't know if this was a fluke or if this is a pattern, but I barely have leaking pods, and I did have a leaking pod. When I say I barely have leaking pods, I mean I've maybe had 4 on my 5 years being on the pod, and I had one last week. So again, I don't know if that's because of the Fiasp, and I don't know if that was just happened to be that day I hit my pod or something happened and it was leaking. But if that becomes a pattern, I definitely would not want to stay on it. Another thing about it, and I heard some people say this, and I know people experience this more with Lyumjev, but I felt some sensation in some of the sites when the insulin was going in. And I don't feel that with Novolog or Humalog. And it was to the point where I kind of had to like hold on to it a bit. It didn't hurt. It wasn't painful, but I could feel it going in. And I kind of had to just like hold it for a second while it was going in, and I've never experienced that before. So just to summarize, I do notice it working faster, but not that much faster. And although I haven't had any kinds of the occlusions or the blocks that would really turn me off probably from using it, I did have that one leaky site, which again, could have been a fluke, could have been due to the Fiasp. Am I going to stay on it? I'll probably finish the bottle, and then I'm gonna try the Lyumjev and see what I think of that. If the Lyumjev doesn't work better, I think I would probably go and try Fiasp for a bit. It worked well enough that I think it's providing some benefit, and why not choose something that has some benefit? If I notice a lot more leaky pods with the rest of the vial, I probably won't go to it, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Let me know in the comments if you're using Fiasp, or if you have, or if you've tried any other kind of insulin like Afrezza or Lyumjev, and what your thoughts are. I will come back and make another video once I'm finished with that Fiasp bottle and moving on to the Lyumjev. And I also have a video coming out next week. I'm taking a road trip to Florida, and I'm gonna share that experience of T1D and road tripping. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know what other kind of videos you want to see.